Hey folks, welcome to CSC 281, Advanced Programming. I can't believe we're doing this again. We just keep getting snow day after snow day, and I really feel like the semester is whipping by us, and I think it's important that we try to keep up as much as possible. So what I'm doing today is providing some videos that you can use to help you with the next part of the course, which is working in the cloud and also working with a variety of technologies that allow you to present static HTML and then present HTML to browsers using servlets and a servlet framework and eventually JavaScript. So to get things started, what I need to do is get you out into the cloud. So how do we do that? Well, the picture that I want you to have in your mind of the cloud is basically we're working with Amazon this semester, and they provide they have a huge set of servers. For us, they're in Oregon, and the servers are running virtual machines. Now, these virtual machines act very much like the computer that you're using right now. You can turn them on, turn them off, but you do it using software over the network. But you can log into them and interact with them just like you log into and interact with your own personal computer. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now, and so I need you to pay attention. I'm also going to send an email to you to kind of follow up with some links and some stuff that might be difficult to see or might go by too fast or whatever. So here's how you get started. What you do is you type in this URL into your browser, https://518.368.001.563.signin.aws.amazon.com/console. And I'll give this to you in email as well. So this is how you're going to log in, start the login process for getting onto the system. So you do that, and what's going to happen is that Amazon's going to say, hey, you want to sign in? What's your username and what's your password? And you are linked to my Amazon Web Services account. So I'm kind of the manager of the web services that you have access to. And so you're going to type in your Stonehill user ID. So I'm going to use Matt Brooks's because I can remember that. So M Brooks. And the password is, don't tell anyone, it's CSRocks55, like CS rocks and 55. So all lowercase, CSROCKS55. So we're going to sign in, and ta-da, here we are. Good job, Matt, you've logged in. Now, we're not actually using web services yet. To do that, or we're not actually using the virtual machine yet. To do that, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to start the virtual machine. So you're logged on to Amazon's Web Services, Cloud Services, and there's all these different things you can do. But for right now, the only thing, there's so many pretty little colored widgets you could click on here, but the only thing I want you to do right now is go over to EC2 and click on that. And when you do that, you're going to see a list. Hang on a second. I'm going to move this out of the way so you don't see that screen recording. We just typed, we're going to the EC2 dashboard, and specifically what we're going to do is look at instances. So I'm clicking on the instances link. And there's a whole bunch of instances here. And I'm going to search the instances for M. Brooks, because there's an instance that's assigned to Matt. And there it is. There it is. Okay. So this instance is assigned to Matt Brooks. This contains a virtual machine, which you can start and stop. So what I want you to do is go to the virtual machine that's associated with your user ID, click on it, select the action, and the action you want to select is start. And it says, are you sure you want to start this? Yes, I want to start it. And what that's going to do is start up the virtual machine in the cloud. So there's one other action I want you to do to make sure that you don't accidentally delete your virtual machine, because that would really stink after you've done some work. While we're doing this, click on Action and click Change Termination Protection and select Yes, I'd like to enable termination protection. What that'll do is make sure that your virtual machine can't be deleted. In case you forget to stop your virtual machine, you decide to terminate it instead. Okay, so things are spinning around here. It doesn't look like much is going on, but actually we're just not getting a great refresh here, so I'm just going to click refresh on the browser, and we'll see that MapBrook's machine, his virtual machine, is started. Yay, that's really awesome. So the next thing we have to do is, it would be really cool to get on the virtual machine. All right, so how do we do that? Well, the way we're going to do that, I'm just fooling with this so I can see the IP address of the machine. So this number over here, the 54.201.70.190, that is the IP address that Amazon's Cloud Services has made available for the virtual machine. So if we want to get to it, we have to get onto the virtual machine that way. All right, so how do we get onto the virtual machine? Well, it turns out there's actually two things that we're going to have to do. The first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to log on to the virtual machine using something called SSH. So you can use SSH on a Mac, or you can use it on a PC. So the Mac version of doing this, I'm going to talk about here. The PC version, I'll create a short video after this and give you a link to it that shows you how to do it from the PC. But the idea is basically the same. So here's what you do. You bring up a terminal window. All right, I'm actually gonna close these down and do, say, shell. Give me a new terminal window. Basic shell. And then what I'm going to do is I need a couple things to make this work. The first thing I need is something called a PEM file. It's called, the PEM file is actually called stonehillcs.pem. This is a special authentication file that you must have in order to log into the virtual machine. If you don't have this file, then you can't log on to the virtual machine. So in an email, I'm going to send you this PEM file, so you'll have it, and you can download it and put it on your computer. So I download the PEM file, and it's right in this current directory, my home directory, and it's called stonehillcs.pem. So you're all, at least initially, you guys are all going to have the same PEM file, because I want to see how things go, and I might end up changing virtual machines around a little bit, and I just want to make sure that it's easy for me to do that. So anyway, there's the stonehillcs.pem file. All right, the second thing you have to do is type an SSH command, a command to log in remotely to the virtual machine. And you're used to when you log into machines, you're used to logging into machines in a very graphical way. We're not actually going to do that. We're going to use this SSH tool to log in remotely to the virtual machine, and we're just going to get a command line interface. In Unix or Linux terms, that's just a shell, a terminal shell, and in Windows terms, we call that a command line shell. Okay, so let's do this. So the command to do this, I can't remember it exactly, but here it is. You're going to say, you're going to type in SSH -i stonehill.cs.pem. That's this file that you must have on your machine in the same directory that you're executing this SSH command. And then you're going to say Ubuntu at, and you're going to specify an IP address. And the IP address is the IP address that appears up here associated with your virtual machine, right here. You see that? So I'm just going to actually copy and paste that. right there. And now I'm going to press enter. All right. It says it can't validate the authenticity of this host. I'm going to roll with it. Yes, I want to continue connecting. And now I am on the machine. So I am actually now on this machine that's in Oregon. And if I ask it, what is your host name? Let's check out the host name. Let's see what it says. It says, whatever. The host name doesn't mean anything. So I'm on the machine, which is great. But this this text interface on the machine it's okay. But for the most of the work that we're doing, we don't really need to interact much with this text-based interface to the virtual machine. Well, there's a lot of stuff you can do with it. In fact, back in the day, there really wasn't any graphical way of interacting with Unix machines or Linux machines. Basically, Unix machines. Linux came along a little later. And so people were fine just with typing commands to move files, compile programs, etc., etc., etc.
Hey folks, welcome to CSC 281 Advanced Programming. This little lecture snippet is going to teach you how to access the virtual machine, the Linux virtual machine in the cloud from a Windows machine. Now, I have to say, I mean, you may have noticed in class, I'm very biased against Windows. I used Windows for many, many, many years, but I now feel like it's just a really clunky, hard-to-use system, and it's much easier to use systems like Linux or OS 10. Linux, if you can't, don't want to shell out the bucks for an OS 10 machine, or OS 10 if you willing to shell out the bucks for it. But the software on the Windows machine is just a lot clunkier, and you'll see that compared to the software that I was using in the Introduction to Cloud Services. So in order to get all this stuff to work for Windows, we're going to have to do basically the same thing we did on the OS 10 machine. We're going to need to connect to the virtual machine via SSH, and then after we've connected, we're going to run start the VNC server, and then we're going to run a VNC client on the Windows machine. Now it's a little trickier because the machine that we're using up in the cloud is a Linux machine, which is more compatible with OS 10. The machine that we're using in this demonstration is a Windows machine, which just is not as compatible with Linux. So there are a bunch of tools that can all make it happen. There's just some configuration work that you have to do to get it all to work. All right, so here goes. The first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to download a program called Putty, P-U-T-T-Y. Just Google that, and you'll see a link that says download Putty, a free SSH and Telnet client for Windows. So we're going to go there, and we're going to click download Putty. You can download Putty here, so we're going to download it. And scroll down here, and there's a lot of different flavors of Putty. There's a lot of really cool things that Putty can do. But the thing that we're really interested in is this putty.exe file. So we're going to click on that to download it. And we're going to run it. Okay. So it's already in the download section of, it's in your download directory. Now, what we need to do is we need to set up a whole bunch of different things in order to get Putty to work properly with VNC. And so what we're going to do is we are going to first, right here, you can see provide the host name or IP address. Well, I'm going to assume that you have logged in to Amazon Web Services on the web with your user ID, and you've found the virtual machine that you are responsible for, that you own and control. So you can see there's a whole list of them here, but one of them is running, which is Matt Brooks, because I'm going to pretend I'm Matt. Now, if you scroll over to the right-hand side, you'll see the public IP. This is the IP address that you can use to connect to the virtual machine. So I'm going to make a copy of that, Control-C, and then come over here and do a Control-V. All right? Super. Now, not done yet. There's a couple other things I'm going to have to do. One thing I'm going to have to do is click on this SSH link right here, and going to expand it and say that, click on the off link, and I've got to let, just like in the OS 10 side there was this authorization key, a .pem file. Well, it turns out that for PuTTY to work, PuTTY needs a .ppk file. So in the email I sent you that contains a lot of these instructions plus links to this video, there is a .ppk, stonehillcs.ppk file that you can use and download from your email, and then you can link to it. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to say, hey, I do actually have a PPK file that I want you to use when you connect to this machine. There it is. Open. All right. We're not done yet. We're still not done. The next thing we want to do here is click on X11 and say that we want to enable X11 forwarding. And then the next thing we want to do here is we want to say we're going to use a source port of 5900 and a destination of Control V 5901. So this is basically saying what we'd like to do is we'd like to tunnel, we'd like to, from this workstation, create a secure encrypted tunnel that uses the VNC protocol to talk to our virtual machine that's running in the cloud. So that way, all the graphics information that's being sent back and forth between this machine and the machine up in the cloud will be encrypted, so no one can look at it, which is really cool. Now, if you're using the OS 10 stuff, you don't have to do any of this configuration. It all just happens automatically when you do SSH. You get automatic tunneling for VNC. Okay, we're basically ready to go here. So what we need to do next is go over to session, and actually we need to, let's save this session. I'm going to call this Amazon 2 because I've already tested this out to make sure it works. So click Save, and then we'll click Open. And what will happen here is it's going to say log on as, PuTTY says log on as. We're going to say, this is actually the virtual machine talking to us. We're going to say we want to log on as Ubuntu. U-B-U-N-T-U. Okay, press enter. And boom, we're on the machine. Awesome. So this is very much like the terminal shell that we saw when we were over on the OS 10.
Okay, so you're seeing a slightly different window now. I did this because splicing an old video that I recorded for last year's class, which is still relevant, with some material from this year's class. So what you're seeing now is a terminal shell window. It's in OS 10, but you would see the same thing if you were doing this in Windows. And when you log in, the VM automatically puts you in a directory called /student, or a folder called /student. There's some simple basic Linux commands that you probably should learn since you're going to be messing around in this environment a little bit. So one command is ls, which stands for list. So if I type ls, I'll get a list of the folders or directories that exist here. You see one that says CSC 314, another one says CSC 324. Obviously the CSC 324 is going to apply to this class. So there's some content in that folder, and I think probably what you want to do is use that folder to store any work that you're doing for the class. There's another thing that you can do, pwd. Pwd is going to show you the directory that you're currently in. And there's another thing called cd, and cd will change directories. So why don't we do cd to CSC 324? All right. Now, you can see by the prompt, but also if we do pwd, that we're in /student/CSC 324. If you just type cd and press enter, it's going to bring you to the home directory. The home directory is not /student, it is /home/Ubuntu, which makes a lot of sense. If we do an ls here, you can see all kinds of crazy directories, including Eclipse. That's an interesting IDE that you can work with, but we're not going to work with it in this class. But I want to go back to /student, so I'm going to say cd /student /CSC 324, and now do an ls. So there's two folders in here, Basics and Book Builder. Those contain content that we're going to talk about in the class. You can look at them if you want to. Um, but for right now, what we're going to do is just create a little simple hello program right here in the CSC 324 directory. So how we do that is we're going to use an editor called Emacs, E-M-A-C-S. And this editor is awesome. It runs in every single programming environment that you could possibly think of. It's everywhere, including Windows. And there's a tutorial. There's lots of online help and stuff like that. But I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on how to work with Emacs. So the first thing you want to do is open a file. So you do that by holding the Control character down and press X. And then let up the Control character and press F. Oops, let's try that again. Hold the Control character down, press X, and then keeping the Control character down, press F. It says find a file, and we're going to make up a file. We're going to call it hello.py. The py stands for Python. All right, Python's such an easy language to learn. We just want to print hello, so I'm going to use the command print, and I'll use single quotes, hello world. Couple exclamation points. And we don't do semicolons. You can, but you don't have to. All right, I'm done with my program. All right, really simple. I'm going to hit Control X and then press the S key to save. And it says, do you really want to save? Yes. And then I'm going to get out by hitting Control X and C. Oops, sorry. Control X and Control C. So I'm holding the Control character down, pressing X and then C. All right. Now, if I do an ls, you'll see that hello.py is now something that's in the current directory. And if I say Python space hello.py, my program will run. Pretty awesome, huh? Let's just do a little bit more with Emacs. I'm going to type Emacs hello.py. Do that, and now I'm editing this file. So, you know, this is a keyboard-based editor, the way it's currently set up. So you're going to have to learn some basic keyboard commands. So let's say I want to add a little more text here. I'm going to press Enter a couple times, and I'm going to put a comment in here. So if you want to move up, press the up key, up arrow. If you want to move down, press the down arrow. If you want to move right, press the right arrow. If you want to move left, press the left arrow. So that should make sense, right? So I'm moving right, moving left, moving up. I'll put a comment in here. This is my first comment. Let's spell comment correctly. Some other keyboard characters that might be useful to know. If you want to find something, let me go back to the top here. If I do Control S, that will search for something. So if I'm looking for something in the code, hello. You can also do search and replace. So to do that, you do escape X, string replace. Ooh, let's spell that correctly. Replace. Trying lots of commands here. Meta X replace string. There we go. Came back to me. So I'm going to type the string hello, and I want to replace it with goodbye. Kind of grim. Goodbye world. All right, and I'll save that. Control X, S. Yes, I want to save this. Let's get back out. Control X, Control C, and then type Python hello. Now I could type it out, but I'm going to use the up arrow key, and I can circulate through the commands that I've already typed. Python hello. Goodbye world. All right, that's good enough for now.